Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 141.
141.
One day, I shall come back.
Oh dear, we are in trouble, aren't we?
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
I have the advantage of being slightly ahead of you. Sometimes behind you, but normally ahead of you.
But the trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
A meteor storm and the sky above us was dancing with lights. Purple, green, brilliant yellow, yes!
I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose.
Run for your life.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Just remember who's standing in your way.
Look at the eyebrows. These are attack eyebrows. You can take bottle tops off with these.
Howdy do, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week and you've not been too scared. That's quite a creepy one this week.
Creaky floorboards, thunder and lightning. Had the whole lot, didn't it?
The whole lot going on. Yes. So if you, our fantastic listeners have had a good week, and I assume that you've done something Doctor Who related, seeing as there's a new series of Doctor Who on the telly, and unless you're like Adam, of course, and the first few episodes you just jetted off to various locations.
Foreign land.
And missed them all. But yes, thank you. A big wave to new listeners. We seem to have a bunch of new listeners on board, so welcome. And a big smile to old grizzled ancients as well. Those of you that have been with us for a while. Thank you. Yes, coming up in today's show, I've got a few news bits. Some interesting Torchwood news.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to see if Adam gets excited by some K9 movie update news.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. And then an old classic figure. It's got a nice little award. But first, how have you been, my old friend?
I've been very good, thank you.
Very good.
I've had a good week, actually. I've managed to get a couple of Doctor Who things in this week. I haven't jetted off to any foreign countries this week. Right. So I did get to watch Doctor Who go out live, which was great. Was so buzzing for this episode, actually. It was great. So to actually watch it going out. But yeah, I've also managed to fit in a bit of Big Finish because I've been slipping really behind with the Big Finish listening because their output is just incredible at the moment, isn't it? So I listened to a couple of Jago and Lightfoot. They did a couple of short stories featuring the 10th Doctor, which came out a couple of months ago. They're quite recent. So they were called Act 1 and Act 2. Stupidly, because he's got the picture of the 10th Doctor on the cover, I assumed he was going to sort of be in it because obviously David Tennant's done some Big Finish stuff. So I thought he was just going to have a couple of lines in it or would at least feature in it, but he doesn't actually. It's actually the actors themselves doing the voice. So Trevor Baxter and Benjamin, what's his name? Forgotten his name. But yeah, it's the Jago and Lightfoot guys. And they're really good fun. They're only 25 minutes each. And it's just a nice little fun story. And they're really good to listen to, those two on audio. So that was good. Managed to get Act 1 and Act 2 done while doing a bit of ironing.
Oh, nice.
So I found, so that was cool. And also something arrived. I don't know if you saw my Facebook, but something I've wanted for a very long time. Oh, yeah. And thanks to you, buddy, I now have him.
Yay!
I have the Malice.
Yay!
I've got him. I got him from the Who shop.
Nice one.
Because he goes for about 100 odd quid on eBay, and as much as I want him, I'm not paying that. More out of principle, because he was about £40, I think, when he was released, and I wasn't going to pay some inflated price. So yeah, you said that the Who shop had got him in stock, so I've been checking their website, and he's been showing us out of stock for weeks, even after you said they'd got him. So I thought, I'll use the good old-fashioned telephone. I'll give him a call. And I spoke to a guy, and he was like, hang on, I think we've got one. I could hear a lot of rustling. He's like, yeah, we got a Malice. I was like, well, I'd like to order him. Should I do it with you on the phone? He's like, no, hang on. I'll put him on on the computer. So while I was on the phone to him, he added him online, and then I immediately bought him online.
That's good.
So
yeah,
that was cool. He's still a bit more expensive than he was originally. So he was like, they were selling him for £69.99, so £70, and then £10 postage, which was a bit. I know.
£10.
I know. Well, it was recorded.
How much is a train ticket?
Well, I know, but I was like, oh, but it was still a lot cheaper than. So I got it for £79 basically, but still a lot cheaper than eBay.
Right. That's true.
So yeah, it was still expensive. Don't get me wrong. I was still like, oh. But it's the end of the month. I've just been paid, and I have wanted him forever. And I just thought I'd get him while they'd got him, because I think they'd only got one in their cabinet by the sounds of it. So I don't know. Next time you go, you'll have to check to see if they've brought another one up from behind the counter. So next time you go in the Who shop, have a look and see if they've got one, because you never know, they might have more. But yeah, I'm very pleased with him. I have to say, he is quite small. Mm-hmm. He's nowhere near as big as I sort of imagined, because I suppose because the TARDIS is such a big piece. I expected him to sort of be half the size of it, and he's actually more a quarter of the size of it. But yeah, great little figure, and I'm really chuffed to finally got him. So thanks for the tip off.
No worries, dude.
Our good old mates at the Who shop. Actually, talking to them, you were joined in a conversation on Twitter with me and Clayton Hickman the other night, didn't you, about the TARDIS she's got in there?
Yes.
Which was really interesting, I thought. I don't know if you managed to follow the whole thread, because lots of other people were jumping in, and Twitter can sometimes be a bit strange. It doesn't always show you all the comments, does it? So, but basically, because me and you have always said she's got a large prop inside the shop, and it says on it, "This is the TARDIS from the Peter Cushing movies."
That's right. Yep.
And we've always said, no, it isn't. It doesn't look right.
It doesn't look like it, no.
Doesn't look like it. And I was thinking it might be the McGann one or something. We could never place it. Well, Clayton Hickman, obviously massively involved in Doctor Who, and he's the expert of the TARDIS. Mm-hmm. And him and another guy whose name I've completely forgotten, who's also very enthusiastic about, Tony these
Farrell.
Things. That's it, Tony Farrell. Mm-hmm. Basically confirmed that although she refuses to admit it, it's not the box used in the Dalek Invasion Earth and the other Cushing movie. It's actually I think it's a Shepperton Studios police box prop that was used in their films. I don't think it actually appeared in Doctor Who. I'm not sure. I don't want to say too much in case I got it wrong. But it was just cool to actually have a chat with those guys who really know what they're talking about. And it's something that we've been on about for a while, isn't it? I mean, it's bugged me for ages. Every time I go in, I just look at it and I'm like, it's a great police box.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
But it's definitely not the Cushing one. So it's cool to have a Twitter chat with those guys.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Because the kind of... If anyone's never been to the Who shop, the sort of people that you get in there, they are. I mean, you do get the odd person that goes in there that just has a look around, who's likes Doctor Who, but is not, wouldn't label them as a hardcore fan as such. But they do get a large portion of fans in there who really know their stuff. So it seems bizarre to me that she still carries on this charade that it's the police box from the Cushing movie, because. My knowledge of different TARDIS models is reasonable, but it's nowhere near that of some people. And I immediately thought that doesn't look like the Cushing TARDIS.
No.
So when you get people in there that really do know their stuff, surely, they'll take one look at it as I did and thought, I don't think that's the case. But she's adamant, isn't she? She's sticking to her guns.
Well, I think, I can only assume that when she bought it, she must have been told.
She got
whoever she got told that's the Cushing box. And it's probably a genuine mistake. I mean, Shepperton Studios and who made the Cushing movies? It's, not Ealing, was it? It was, I don't know, but there was, lots of the companies like that around at the time that would have had these props, and it's probably a very genuine mistake. But it's just good to know, because, as Doctor Who fans, like you said, we do get, like every time I go in, I look at it, we do get embroidered in wanting to know these things. And I have genuinely just wanted to know if it was or wasn't for quite some time, sad as that may seem. So it's really cool to have a little Twitter chat with Clayton. He's so good on Twitter. He's always posting pictures of like little oddities to do with the TARDIS, like in Legopolis, the little key latch swaps sides, swaps doors, and he was saying, but how does it? Why? Like how many props did they have and stuff like that? And yeah, for a big geek like myself, I just love going through his Twitter feed and seeing all that. So yeah, it was really cool to get clarification. So now we know. I'm not brave enough to tell her though, because she's a nice lady, but you wouldn't mess with her.
That's the thing. She's a lovely lady, and whenever I'm in there, she's always chatting to people. She's very friendly. But yeah, I imagine if you said to her, "That's not the TARDIS you think it is," you'd be in the gallows pretty quick.
I just got a vision of you'd just be ejected from the building at 100 miles, thrown out onto the street. Yeah.
No, I really
So apart from chatting with Clayton and a bit of Big Finish and just basically just staring at the malice endlessly. I haven't. That's what I've been up to. So it's been quite a good week. The only other thing that's arrived, which has taken me a bit by surprise, is the figure of the Destroyer. This Doctor Who figurine magazine.
Oh yes,
that comes out every couple of weeks, and you get like a little figure with it. I just buy the ones I want. I don't subscribe to it, so because they're a bit hit and miss, and they're always of a reasonable standard, I would say. But then some of them are better than others. The Destroyer arrived yesterday morning. I've got to just say they've outdone themselves. It is amazing. I was like, wow, Eagle Moss, you have knocked yourself out of the park with this one. It is brilliant. Obviously, the Destroyer from the episode Battlefield, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, it's the one that's all big horns and all that at the end. Yeah. Frothing at the mouth guy, chained up. It's incredible, mate. It's such a good figure, and it's like $8.99, really good price. So I know we've got a few listeners who like Battlefield. If you can find that figure, I think Smith sometimes have him. He's brilliant. He's for the money. He's absolutely amazing little figure. So, and he's got proper chains and everything. Yeah, it's as if they've really upped their game with that one.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so I was pretty surprised because I ordered him and I just thought it'd be the usual, and I opened him yesterday and I was like, wow, he's really cool. So he's gone on the shelf.
Ah, brilliant.
He's been unboxed. He's been actually taken out of his box because he's too good to keep boxed.
On the shelf, of course.
Yeah, he's on the shelf. So that's me, mate. That's my week. What about you? What have you been up to?
Not much, mate. Very, very quiet week for me, Who-wise.
Yeah?
I've watched our review episode a couple of times.
Yeah.
Off of the old Skybox. I've a couple of things. I think I'm going to get lynched here for saying this.
Oh, dear.
I think I'm going to be shot at close range for this. So a few weeks, I think it was 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. I told you guys that I had ordered the Amazing Mystery Box.
Oh, yeah.
The Doctor Who themed one that the guys at the amazingmysterybox.co.uk are doing. And I am shamed to tell you that it's still sitting there, taped up, unopened. Because I thought, right, this is a great excuse to do a live stream and little mini review and so on. I just haven't had the time to do it.
I was going to ask you actually what happened about that. Yeah.
Yes, and the sad thing is I got an email to say your mystery box renewal has gone through, so I'm going to get a second one turn up in the next few days, and that's going to sit there underneath the one I originally got. So I will definitely do a live stream and unbox it all and show you guys. So
you'll just be behind it. Just be see the top of your head behind all these boxes.
It's just really frustrating because in a way it's okay because it's it's sitting there bubbling under the surface like that's coming, it's going to be cool. But I expect a lot of our listeners would think, what is wrong with him? We're talking about Doctor Who merch and it's sat there unopened. So I'm very sorry. That will be done soon. And the only other thing I've done is order a bit of Big Finish. Ordered the Classic Doctors New Monsters Volume 2 box set, which I believe is out in July. Is it June, July?
It's July, yeah.
And another couple of bits, which I can't remember right now. But fairly easy week for me, fairly quiet.
Cool, yeah. Building up the suspense for that mystery box. So I can't wait to see what's actually in it. Yeah.
Yes, well, actually, talking of these kind of boxes, these mystery blind box crate loot things, I noticed something. The BBC have launched an official one over with the guys over at Nerd Block in the US.
Yeah.
And I was sort of umming and ahhing whether to order the first one just to see what it's like. And I looked on, we frequent a website, don't we, called the Doctor Who site, and they've got a really good merchandise.
Such a good website. I love that website.
It's great, isn't it? And it's always updated with merch and so on. And I saw a note on there, which I didn't see on the actual Nerd Block website. It may be on there, I just couldn't find it. But it said, UK buyers, please note that it ships out of the warehouse in Canada. And there's a 20% VAT to pay on that because it's coming into the UK. Plus, there's an £8 Royal Mail handling charge. So I thought, that kind of pushes me over the limit that I want to pay for a box, of stuff that you don't know what's in it. I mean, I know that's the point, but it's a bit of a risk. I don't mind paying, like the mystery box, the Amazing Mystery Box stuff. I think that was 25 quid. So that's kind of within my budget I want to spend on that sort of thing. But I think it's $50, the Nerd Block one. And when you convert that into pounds, I think it's about 38 quid, 39 quid. Then you got 20% on top of that, which puts it to 40 odd quid. Then your £8 handling. So I think overall it works out to about £56.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's a little bit.
That's a lot, isn't it?
That just takes me over the amount I'm happy to spend where I don't know what's in it, which defeats the point of it because you're not supposed to know what's in it. But do you know what I mean? If it's because a lot of these boxes do claim that you get X amount of pounds. And I know this one might be slightly different because it's official Doctor Who merch on the BBC, but you never know, do you?
No, I thought exactly the same thing, funny enough, because I've been eyeing that up thinking, might do. And I did think of you because they just announced one of the little things in it. I don't know if you saw. They've given like a little spoiler. I don't know whether to say or not. I'm assuming. Well, is it going to be a big spoiler if I say what it is?
Well, they've officially told everybody.
Yeah, so it's okay. So basically, they've announced that you get in the first box, I assume. It's like a exclusive Titan of the 10th Doctor in his sort of what is it? It's like when he's been blown up, isn't it? It's his. Yeah, it's in his. Is it the end of time when he's in the? Is it the end of time? He's sort of his suit's been ravaged by. Yeah, it's when he's fallen through the glass, isn't it? That's it. And he's got when he's fallen through the glass, and it's all ripped. Yeah. So you get an exclusive Titan of the 10th Doctor with his ripped outfit. And actually, he does look pretty cool. And I did wonder if that might push you over the edge to order it, because I know you love your 10th Doctor stuff. So I thought, and I was the same. I was tempted, actually. I thought, he's really cool. And if you're going to get little things like that, maybe it's worth doing it. And then exactly the same as you, thanks to that website, I was like, actually, that's quite a lot of money. Because is it a monthly thing?
Well, the Nerd Block thing is every 2 months.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a bit torn. I don't think I will, but it's tempting, isn't it?
It is tempting, yeah. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if we check out a load of YouTubers who have got one and reviewed it and see what it's like. It might jump on board and get number 2, maybe. But it was just that. It can't be helped. It's just all the shipping and handling costs from Canada. So,
it's a good plan, actually. Yeah, check out some YouTubers. Someone did message me the other day and said, "Am I getting sent one free to review?" And I was like, "If only. I don't ever get sent anything free. I think people think I do, but no. Unfortunately, all the stuff I review is paid for with my own money. So I wish I was getting one free. Maybe some people out there are, but I'll do the same as you, Gary. I'm going to wait and see what the first one's like and go from there.
It's because you need a more approachable face.
Yeah, so thanks. Yeah.
A lot of these companies probably have a look at the old Geek Sandbag and they think, he's a bit stroppy.
Not stroppy.
I'm joking. Why don't you just say to them, look, not being funny, right? But I'm rocking 500,000 subs. When are you going to start sending me some stuff?
Some stuff, yeah. Actually, it probably is my own fault because I never contact anyone about.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so maybe I should start doing that. I suppose it doesn't cross my mind. I'm always looking to stuff to buy, but I never think to say, can I grab one of them for free? I probably could have had loads of stuff by now. Yeah, perhaps I ought to start doing that.
Yeah. Is that Nerd Block? Geek Sandbag here, you know me.
Get it over here.
You know me.
Yeah. So if you see me reviewing it, the chances are I've managed to get one for free. Yeah. Which is very unlikely.
All I was going to say, if you fired out a bunch of emails every month, like half a dozen companies, I'm sure you'd get at least one or two of them say, okay, cool, yeah.
It's probably true. This is terrible to say, but I just. Yeah, I can't. I'm lazy.
You can't be bothered, can you?
I can't be bothered. No.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd just rather go to the shop and buy it. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I probably could.
I'd rather go to the shop and buy it than get sent it for free.
Yeah, just lazy.
Maybe
lazy.
Listeners, let's all get an email campaign going for the Geeks Handbag. Let's send them off to everybody.
You make him sound like a charity case.
Come on, let's help him out.
Well, I'll never say no to free stuff.
Come on, free stuff.
Yeah.
So next episode, 142, I expect you to give us an update saying that you've contacted at least 10 people. And you've heard back
at the job centre.
And you've heard back from at least
I want to see
5.
proof of at least 5 jobs you've applied for this month. Oh, yeah. We'll see. I'll let you know. I'm just not one for getting free stuff. Also, I think the other thing, seriously, just to wrap this up, the other thing is I feel that if I get free stuff, this is why I like to stress that I pay for mine. I always think you could be seen as being slightly biased in your review, if you see what I mean. So imagine me Torch Sonics I reviewed recently that I wasn't very impressed with. So imagine if I said to you, I got them for free, and I'm there saying, oh, these are this torch. This is the torch you need. You know what I mean? They're going to be thinking, yeah, well, of course he's saying that. He got it for free. So I don't know. There's always that as well. I feel I need to be impartial.
Well, I was going to say, you can say you'll be very honest.
Yeah, I suppose
front,
so. Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see. That means no.
Yeah, it does.
Shall we land the TARDIS and
yes.
rattle through some news?
Get into it.
Did you know that there's a spin-off show of Doctor Who called Torchwood?
I have heard of it.
You heard of it? Well, they're coming back.
I'm laughing because about 3 people tagged me on my personal Facebook profile in this post yesterday with about 1 million exclamation marks, and I got really excited because the tagline was Torchwood back for 5th series, overseen by RTD, and I was like, ah! And then, of course, over to you, Gary. It turns out
that it's Big Finish. It's not actually.
Of course it is.
It's not coming back to TV, unfortunately.
No.
So this isn't that bad, though. Let's be honest. Because,
no, it's not at all. No,
let's not be too down. I mean, it would be great to see Torchwood back on the TV.
Yeah.
And I must admit, when I first saw the headline, I was like, no way. John Barrowman's done it. He's actually marched.
That's exactly what I thought.
He's marched into the BBC for the final time and said, look, cards on the table. Is it happening or not? And they've said yes, and it's party time. But no, he's gone back to old Briggsy, Big Finish, and said, look, they're not having it. You guys are loving it. Let's make it happen. So, so essentially, it is Series 5, isn't it? Because it picks up immediately after Miracle Day.
Yeah.
Which I believe would be classed as Series 4 of Torchwood.
Yes,
it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, and you are correct, mate. So Russell T Davies is involved.
Which is cool.
I don't think he's not sort of overseeing it in a kind of script editor, showrunner type of thing. He's just contributed to the writing of it. So it will be, when is this out? It's out next year. No, October. Or starts in August and finishes up in October and into the new year, I believe.
Yeah.
And Russell T Davies' involvement is he's created a couple of characters, I believe. So there's going to be some new people. I was going to say new faces pop up, but it's Big Finish, so there'll be some new voices pop up, and they will have been co-created by Russell T Davies. So he's had a hand in it. So which is good news because I don't think Russell's been involved in hardly anything to do with Doctor Who since he left.
Not really, is he? No.
Really.
And not many people, not many of the cast survived by the time we got to the end of Miracle Day, did we? So
exactly, yeah.
They had to bring somebody new in. Which it's great actually that he's come back to have a bit of involvement in it, though. I think, it's good that he's sort of put his input into it to create some new guys. Yeah.
So it's important to note that this is something different for Big Finish. So before they've done, you've got your sort of monthly range, which is a collection of individual stories, and then they have the box sets like Dark Eyes and Doom Coalition and all that stuff. Whereas this is a complete series. It's 3 box sets essentially, all of the same continual story. So it's not touted as an isolated thing. It's actually, they're actually marketing it as a series. So series 5 properly, as opposed to just an isolated box set story. So that's quite cool. It is
good. Yeah, I must admit, I'll probably pick this up actually. These box sets, because I like the idea that it carries on straight from Miracle Day. It does make me think though. Does that mean it does kind of put another nail in the coffin to it coming back to TV if they're picking up straight from? Because I don't know. Who knows what could happen? But it is good news, and I think it does sound like quite a cool little box set to pick up. So yeah, I'll definitely be getting the first one to see what it's like.
Yeah, I would say that based on this, it's not going to come to TV anytime soon.
No,
because they've had to rely on Big Finish again, to get Torchwood stories out there. But just lastly on this, the writer James Goss has said there'll be some familiar old faces. Of course, Reese and Andy are in there, but there'll be some other surprises, including an appearance by someone who just has to be dead.
Oh,
so yeah. Somebody will be back who we thought to be dead.
Ooh. I like the fact that James Goss is involved as well, because he's very good. So yeah, sounds very exciting. Yes. Okay, other news: K9. Do you remember that there was talk of a movie?
There was, wasn't there, moons ago?
A movie, a K9 movie was talked about and kind of forgotten about, and it's back. They're talking about it again, and they've unveiled this new design. From what I can gather, the film, I mean, this has just been going on for quite a while now, so I don't, when is this film actually coming out? Do we even know?
It was meant to be this year, wasn't it?
It's not. Yeah, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the K9 in this film is going to be CG, because there was this new design unveiled at a convention at the weekend called the Capital 2. And they unveiled an actual physical thing, which I believe was created using a 3D printer using the film's CGI model. So from that, I'm guessing there's going to be a CGI K9
it will be
film.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's going to be battling Omega, not Omega, as a lot of people say, Omega. Which is a great character. So it's about the only little glimmer of thing that's getting me excited about this, to be honest with you, because I don't know, something about this just doesn't sit right with me. As much as I love K9, you listeners know I love K9, but me personally, mate, I'm just being honest here. I think the design looks a mess. It looks very much like the one that was in. They did a Australian TV series, which I must admit I've never ever seen. And it looks very similar to that design, except they seem to have chopped his back legs off and put a sort of solid back to it instead. That's probably the best way I can describe him. So for me, I just like the original K9. But this does not do it for me at all. I can't say I'm getting much enthusiasm for the film, to be honest with you, apart from the Omega thing. But yeah, what do you think of this new K9 design? Do you like him?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest as well, with same as you, mate. I think it looks absolutely dreadful.
It's just so messy.
It looks
like
it's regressed into, it's the sort of design that you would see as like a little £3 tiny little rubbishy figure in Toys R Us. That's the design they're going for. It just looks really. I know it's going to be CG in the film, so I'm not sure what they're going to do with textures and stuff, but it just looks really cheap and plasticky, and the back legs are gone, so it's got some sort of, I don't know, is that going to be a wheel at the back, or is it going to hover?
A wheel, I assume.
I don't know,
probably a hover. Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks really bad. It looks awful.
I've just got visions of him flying around a bit like R2-D2 in like was the Phantom Menace? What's the one where R2-D2 is suddenly flying around and you're thinking, well, hang on. He never used to do that.
Revenge of the Sith, yeah.
Revenge of the Sith, and I'm thinking, I've got visions of K9 doing that, like flying around, shooting things with because he's got a great big laser at the front of his face and stuff. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, it's not doing it for me. A friend of mine who went to the convention, I was telling him my thoughts on it, and he said to me, it looks a lot better. In the actual real thing looks a lot better. But from the photos I've seen, yeah, it's not doing it for me. But anyway, the K9 movie, we thought it was gone, but it's still in production. So for those of you that are looking forward to it, it will be coming out. We don't know when, but it looks like it's stepped up a gear anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really looking forward to that.
Yes.
And finally, in news, following on actually from the convention we spoke about, the Capital 2, Mr. Philip Hinchcliffe was honoured at said convention, which is very, very nice. So,
yes.
So everyone, that's not really fair. Most people should know the name Philip Hinchcliffe. If you're a classic Who fan. So he was a producer on the show back in the 70s. So I think it was like 74 up to 77, 78, something like that. And he was, so he was quite instrumental in that sort of era of the show. You know, it's and that part of the show is often looked at as some of the best in classic Who.
Yeah.
And so he was presented with the award from the founding member of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, Mr. Jeremy Bentham, and he gave a little speech and so on. And Mr. Hinchcliffe gets an award finally for something.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? I mean, I think you're the same, but I'm a big fan of the Hinchcliffe era, if you like. Yes. There was some great stuff in there. His tended to be the more gothic horror style Tom Baker before he went into the Graham Williams, much more light-hearted stuff. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of his era, and nice guy Philip. So, yeah, very good to see him getting that, actually. Yeah, I think it's a nice little tip of the hat to him. So, yes, well done, Mr. Hinchcliffe.
He was one of the guys behind K9 as well. Wasn't he? He was one of the sort of
would have been, I suppose. Yeah.
So that's all good. Good news.
Yeah. He's still involved. He's still doing a bit for Big Finish as well, isn't he? They've done a couple of Philip Hinchcliffe Presents box sets with Tom. Yeah. You know, some couple of Tom Baker stories. So it's nice that he's still, involved with Who all these years later. Yeah.
Good times.
Well done.
That's going to do for news. We haven't got any merch to talk through because there's nothing really meaty to talk about that's been released recently. We've done the LED torches. We've done the
block.
The nerd block. It's not quite ready yet, but
I tell you what, and we won't talk about it, but just must quickly ask you: did you see the prototype Robert Harrop Tetrap?
Yeah.
They posted a picture of the sculpt and what they're working on. Now, even no matter what you think of Time of the Rani, that looks like a blimming great figure, doesn't it? So
doesn't it just?
Yeah. I meant to ask you that before we kicked off. I'm getting that as soon as that comes up for pre-order. I'm getting that. Tetrap, yeah.
No, does that good? Yes. Right, knock knock.
Who's there?
Some weird creepy guy with a tuning fork.
Is it Praro?
You've stolen the joke, Adam. What are we going to do this week?
We're doing knock knock.
Are you looking for somewhere to live?
That's your house?
Sharing, yeah. 6 of us.
How do you get into the tower?
You don't.
What's that noise?
There's some massive mystery going on.
See you in the morning.
The house is eating people.
Come back here! You signed the contract. It's time to pay.
Time to pay.
Yeah.
Knock knock. It was.
Who's?
We're stopping. The jokes have stopped now.
Right.
It was written by Mark Bartlett. It was directed by Bill Anderson. Overseen, obviously, by the Moth. Usual runtime, nothing special about that. And it went out on Saturday as usual, followed up by the binaural edition on BBC iPlayer, which we'll get onto later.
Yeah.
Yes. So knock knock them. Who does the old haunted house thing again? What do you reckon to this one?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it actually. So that's the 4th episode on a row that I can say I thought was good. I just overall very much enjoyed it. It's a little bit cliche, like I said, like the haunted house, lots of thunder and lightning and stuff. So, but I can overlook that. I thought it was a decent story. The only thing I would say, and I watched it again yesterday just to try and work out why. Hopefully we'll work it out as we're talking through it. For me, it does slightly just fizzle out towards the end, and I can't put my finger on it, but I find the ending slightly unsatisfying. I don't know. It seems like, I suppose the best way I can describe it is it seems so close to being a great episode to me, but for some reason just falls slightly short. And I don't know why that is, to be honest with you, but that's how I feel about it. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it was a very good episode, but it just doesn't quite make the grade of being great somehow. I'll get sort of more into it as we go through it, but that's how I feel about it.
Okay, that's fair enough.
What about you, mate? What about you?
I love this episode.
You loved it?
Yeah, I thought it was a great watch. I thought it was a return to Who that I've been wanting for so long. I really wanted a creepy, scary. I mean, it wasn't that. I've seen what was the Matt Smith episode?
Hide.
That's it. I thought that was slightly creepier.
Yeah.
For the most part. So I've seen scarier Who, but I think this one it was still very creepy, and it was a bit uncomfortable at times because you did have that feeling like, oh my god, this it's it was a bit tense at times.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
But I thought the ending, I mean, it definitely slowed down a little bit towards the end. It was definitely a calmer ending than what I thought we were going to get. But Doctor Who does the cliched haunted house stuff. It does it really well. So it's like a bit
Ghostlight, actually.
It was a bit like Ghostlight because it's a very similar style house, isn't it? So at the beginning of Ghostlight, when they're approaching the house, you can see all like the lightning in the background, and it's lighting everything up. It was very much in that same. It was very much that vibe, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually, it's the same house that they use for Blink, apparently. So I read.
Okay.
Which, I haven't watched Blink for a long time, but apparently it's the same location. Obviously, they've added the CGI tower. Yes. And I can't remember how much we see in Blink. I think it's more inside that we get to see, so which could well have been a set for all I know. But so same house in Blink. And like you said, it's got that ghost-like thunder and lightning vibe. I think, do you know what it is, though, mate? I think it was creepy. There's some great jumpy moments, like there's some proper scare moments which wouldn't look out of place in the Philip Hinchcliffe era, actually, which were great. I agree with you on that. I think what it is, I think the reason that it just missed the grade of being great for me is because I thought David Suchet was absolutely superb as the landlord, and he seemed to be building up to be this. I thought he was literally gonna I thought we were going to get a good sort of battle between him and the Doctor at the end. Mm-hmm. And I suppose because it turned out to be, the way it ended, like you said, it seemed to just sort of build up, and then like this nice, calm, serene ending. And I think maybe that's why it just feels like it just slightly dropped off at the end to me. But then again, it's not a bad thing because it makes it different, I suppose. Like if we'd have had a battle and that, I suppose we've seen all that before. And so I'm a bit sort of torn, really, in between what I was expecting and what we actually got. Maybe that's why it feels like it just sort of fizzled off a bit at the end. But it was good, though. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. I thought it was, like you said, back to proper creepy Doctor Who. Some quite unsettling moments as well, when they're like the guy in the wardrobe with his face like he's embedded in the wardrobe, which reminded me a bit of the Cyberman in Earthshock, actually. He's like half. Oh, yeah. Half in, half out. And it was overall pretty decent, I thought.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was, it does have some, like you said, we're kind of 4 for 4. It's like Series 10 is really just going forward at this great pace. And it's almost like the Pixar thing. So, when Disney Pixar, when it got to the point where they had so many successful films out, and all of their films were rated 10 out of 10, 9.5s, and they were just amazing. Then people then start to reverse it, and you think, like, when's the clanger coming?
Yeah.
When's the not bad, but when's the subpar film coming? And I don't want it to get like that with Series 10, because I don't want to be thinking, right, is this week going to be the clanger? Because every series has got at least one.
There's got to be one, isn't there?
There's got to be. But then you just want to keep the train going. You just, so this week's episode coming up, which is called Oxygen, right?
Yeah.
I have no idea what to think about that, because it's got, again, it's like the classic space suits that we've seen many times in Who, in outer space and so on. And that looks like a combination of sort of the rebel flesh and some other. What's the other story? So it looks like a combination.
Bit Ark in Space, I thought, in classic in a way.
Yeah. So it almost feels like Series 10 is taking these sort of tried and tested formulas that have worked really well with Who, and they're just giving it their own sort of spin on it, if you like.
Yeah.
And this episode, is a perfect example of that, because we've seen the haunted houses done in Who before. So it just took a bit of a spin on it, because at the end, I think a lot of people were expecting David Suchet's character to be some kind of, nasty, villainous monster or character.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be, anything but that. Yes, he's, doing terrible things, but in his mind, he's doing it, for the good of somebody else. So it does sort of turn the episode on its head. And then the little, the dryads, the little cockroachy things, which I thought for some reason the Doctor was saying triads. And I thought, no, that's something completely different. But yeah, so I mean, they kind of fizzled out into not much either. But it is a strange one, because the episode as a whole was fantastic to watch. And
it was a good watch.
Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, just these little moments where you thought,
I think it's because I think it's a case of I was expecting the Landlord to turn out to be something big.
Yeah.
And he actually turned out to be something small. And I think, maybe on reflection, that's quite a cool thing. But I suppose on the first watch, it felt disappointing. Does that make sense? I was like, oh, okay. Well, he was a good character, but that's all he was. When in my head, I'd build it up to something so much bigger. It was like, who is this mysterious landlord? What's he going to be? But maybe on reflection, maybe it makes for a nice change. Perhaps it was a good little twist rather than turning out to be this sort of alien landlord with, something, much bigger. So maybe reflection, it's a good thing.
Yeah. And there's some other things in there as well that we've seen a few times before. So we have the group of teenagers, and how many horror films have we seen starting years ago, what with things like Scream, and we've seen that so many times, haven't we? Like the bunch of students or teenagers in a house, and they'll either get murdered one by one or they disappear. So we've seen that as well many, many times. And that seemed to work quite well. And one of our listeners, I'm not sure if it was a comment on Facebook or in the audio clips, but one of them said that the cast in this was miles better than the cast of Class. Yeah,
well, I did. As soon as we got this group of sort of slightly cocky teenagers, I was like, oh dear, I hope this isn't going to go down that. I hope they're not going to be too annoying, I think is what I was thinking the first time I watched it. And there was only one that I thought was annoying, but thankfully he was the one that only got about 2 lines before he was turned to mush, which was old Pavel with his another one with an accent. And I was like, Pavel, oh dear. Yeah. I was like, oh dear. But he wasn't in it much, so that was good. Why do they make them have to these silly voices though? Because I find it takes me out of the story. As soon as he started speaking, I was like, oh no. It reminded me of old what's name in Class. Who was the one that had the silly accent in Class? That we were convinced
the guy's boyfriend.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be another case of that. But,
right.
But actually, they weren't annoying. I mean, they were. I thought they were sort of borderline, but I thought it was a really fun little start to the episode with those guys going around the houses, and there being that really tiny one, and then the one next to the building site or whatever it was, and I thought that was a lovely little intro. And then the creepy landlord appearing saying, are you looking for somewhere to live? I was like, oh, I like this. Yeah. Again, it felt like Who's sort of back to doing what it, does best. A bit of fun followed by a bit of scariness, by a bit of creepiness. And
no, I read you. And it was a really cool, setup to the story, introducing us to those people as well, because for the life of me, I have no idea what the song was that was playing. It's got quite trendy, this series, isn't it? It's playing a lot of sort of modern pop style songs.
Oh yeah, what was it?
There was a song playing at the beginning when they're sort of looking around, the scenes you're talking about, where they're being shown around these ridiculous little houses and so on. And you can just see instantly that they're all having a laugh, really. When they finally move into the house, there's a lot of banter going on, and they're winding each other up, because they know it's a creepy old house. And so, although I said, that this formula has been done as well, lots of times with a group of young people in the haunted old house, It did feel slightly different. It did have a modern sort of feel to it because they're not all sort of sitting around watching horror films inside a horror story, eating popcorn, with like a face at the window, someone holding a knife at the window, and one of them goes down into the basement to get more beers and he doesn't come back and all that. So it did have a different feel to it, but I really like how the story has set up these characters without having to go into loads of extra story.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to have, a backstory for each of them. We didn't have to have, this big emotional stuff. It was just, Bill's moving in with a bunch of people. They're looking for a house and that's it.
Yeah.
So I like.
And it's quite nice that they knew the Doctor as well, wasn't it? Because it just sort of brought the whole sort of story, the fact that it sort of took us back into their world, of like the Doctor being the professor and all that, and the fact that they kind of already knew him, didn't have to have all that sort of, oh, this is the Doctor, blah blah. So that was quite nice as well. I just thought it just made it feel a bit more grounded again, the series, the fact that it's carrying on from the other episodes as well a bit. So yeah,
and we had some quite cool interactions with the Doctor and those youngsters as well.
Yeah,
so that was quite funny because it was another first, really, wasn't it, in this episode where there was another sort of progression of the relationship between Bill and the Doctor, which we'll come on to.
Yes.
But the way that the Doctor is with the other people, I thought was just really cool because he's being very sort of, not belligerent, but he's being very sort of single-minded and stubborn, because Bill obviously wants him to clear off, but he knows something's not right with the house. And not opening scene, but the first scene where he drops Bill's stuff off at the house and he just takes one look at it, doesn't he? And he immediately knows that something isn't right.
Yeah.
Which is awesome about it. There was a McCoy story as well that I watched recently where he does that, where they land somewhere and he just takes a look around and he's like, nah. Is it Survival?
Oh, could be.
Yeah, when I think they just, TARDIS materializes in this street, he gets out and he's like,
not
something
not right.
Yes, and we have that as well with this one where Capaldi comes out the TARDIS, looks at the house, and you see the look on his face. Capaldi plays it brilliantly. He's like, immediate intrigue. And then there's that split second where he's like, no, this isn't right.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. What do you think to the opening bit as well? Where Bill's moving all of her stuff and she's like counting down 3, 2, 1 and the TARDIS materializes around her.
Oh, it's nice.
That was really nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a lovely scene actually between the Doctor and Bill, because she's asking him about the Gallifrey and Time Lords, and it's just these are stuff that's been said and asked before, but they've given it such a modern take on it. They've made it totally fresh. The fact that rather than being impressed and all that, she's sort of laughing, saying, "What, Time Lord? What, do you wear big hats and stuff?" And he's like, "Oh no, big collars." And I thought, wow, lovely bit of writing in that particular scene. Especially when the Capaldi mentions regeneration, and there's only like a split second scene, isn't there, where he's like, don't know, he almost sort of shuts down for a second, doesn't he? He looks troubled, and then he moves on, quickly changes the subject. I was like, ooh, what's that about? Yeah. I thought that was really cool. I loved that little scene. Thought it was funny and just, again, great interaction between two of them.
So this is the scene in the TARDIS at the beginning, where she's like, she's quite funny, isn't she? She's like, you should rent this out.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And so that was one scene actually that I felt that sort of made me feel both excited and really sad at the same time. Because when he mentions about regeneration, there's that look on his face, isn't there?
That he knows something.
And he changes the subject really quickly. Yeah. So immediately I thought, this is something to do with, the series and why he's meant to be on Earth and why he's very shy and coy about it and doesn't want to talk about it. And then I immediately thought, that means he's going.
Yeah.
That means, with all of these scenes are like Capaldi's last.
It's like we know he's going, but that was the first thing in the episode where we get any sort of hint or inclination that actually this is happening. And we're like, oh no.
Yeah.
But it was a great scene, I thought. Like Bill, when he's like, this is a technological wonder, Bill. And she's like, oh, do you want the postcode? And he's like, yeah, go on, put it in here then. And I just, stuff like that. It's just a great little scene, I thought.
It's great, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, we get onto the scenes with the Bill and the new housemates looking around and so on. And then we're in the house. So what did you think about David Suchet's opening scene with the introduction to him where he's sort of lingering outside the estate agents? And I don't know about you, but if I was looking for a house and then out in the street there was just some reasonably creepy guy, he's like, if you're looking for somewhere to live, follow me. My reaction would be,
you're all right, mate.
Maybe not right now.
Yeah.
But, if you give us your details, we'll come back to you sort of thing. But they're just off, aren't they?
I suppose because of the price, isn't it? I think because that's what tips Bill off a bit, isn't it? She's like, well, it's too cheap, it's too good to be true, because they're all really excited and she's the only one that's a bit skeptical, isn't she?
Yeah.
Whereas the other guys are just like, yeah, this is brilliant, But also, doesn't she come out with a great line somewhere in the middle about, because doesn't the doctor say to her, didn't you think it was odd or something? She's like, what? Bunch of students, cheap accommodation, creepy landlord, pretty standard or something like that. And I thought, okay, that's quite funny, yeah. Because I bet there's loads of students thinking, all over the country.
Well, I thought that, I thought there must be so many students who have who have rented really dodgy student accommodation where the house has probably not been in the best nick, and it's a bit leaky and cold. And so, it probably is standard for a lot of students, but the doc, he's not clued up on that sort of thing, I suppose, is he?
No, true. But I thought Suchet was very creepy in that owning bit, even though he was sort of pretending to be nice to them, because I guess we could see it in his face that he was, we knew there was something a bit sinister about him, if you like. Yeah. Because it's like the other scene as well, when the doctor's there and Suchet comes in and they're giving him the list of things they need repaired.
Yes.
And he plays it quite sort of, he switches brilliantly from being nice to really severe. Mm-hmm. Like I thought, like when the guy says, how do we get to town? He goes, you don't. And he really switches and you're like, whoa, okay. Like things like that. I was like, ooh, he was, wow, don't want to jump ahead, but he was so good in it.
Oh, brilliant.
Such a awesome performance. Yeah.
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 So there was one scene though. I wouldn't say I was confused, but I was like, why the need for that? So there was a bit where towards the beginning, he just sort of appears out of nowhere in the house. They go off to investigate these sort of banging noises in the kitchen. It turns out to be the doctor in the larder, messing around with a saucepan or something. And then he's saying, I just came to make sure everything was all right. And they start, saying about the electrical sockets don't work and all that. And then he walks out, and then one of the characters, who was it? I think it was Shireen. She sort of runs outside to ask him about something, and he'd vanished.
Yeah.
So at first I thought, are they, is he meant to be some sort of mysterious paranormal figure, that he just sort of vanishes and appears and all the rest of it out of nowhere? Or is it a case of, he just wandered off into a different part of the house and she thought he went outside?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming he lives up in the tower. I don't know. I suppose it was just there for effect, that scene, because I did think the same thing. I was like, well, where's he gone? I wasn't clear on that, to be honest with you. I'm just assuming he lives in the tower above him, but pretends not to. Also, because I think my other half, I'm not sure. I think we were a bit miffed by that. When we first watched it, like where he was supposed to be going, or where does he? Because we were like saying, does he live with them then, or does he have his own place? We weren't quite sure what was going on there. I think he lives in the tower.
Probably, yeah. But I thought, are they setting it up for him to be some kind of ghost, or is he, or something like that? Because she opens the door, he's only stepped out like 2 or 3 seconds beforehand,
and he's gone.
She opens the door and he's gone, and so I don't know.
Yeah, not sure about that one.
Yeah. However, I thought that his introduction into the episode was really good, and we'll come on to in a little while. But I thought the way he was, shoved into the story, and how we see a bit more of him as we go through, was quite interesting.
Yeah, he did. He was a very, like you said, they kept you guessing about him all the way through. I think right up to the end, didn't they? Like, what was he? What was he doing? Why was he doing it? Yeah, it was very good.
Slight little issue I found with something. So in that particular scene, they're saying there's all of the power sockets don't work with their devices or anything. The doctor said, it's not going to work with anything because they're really old, aren't they? They're like donkey's years old. Like, what was it, 70 years old or something?
Yeah.
So, none of their electrical equipment work. However, old Pavel is up there and he seems to have plugged in all of his audio equipment.
Yeah, that's true.
Relatively,
he's got a record player going. Yeah.
So he seems to be all right.
So yes, that's true. And the lighting. Doesn't he fit up a light in the beginning? Don't know. Maybe he got his own source from somewhere. I don't know. I can't think now. Yeah.
But his very modern, up-to-date record deck and everything seems to be powered very nicely.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but that's a good point. There is something I didn't quite get, which you might be able to explain. The what they call the dyads, the thing that's feeding on
the dryads.
Dryads, yeah. So those guys are obviously eating all the students that the landlord brings, right? And he's doing that to keep their nutrition. So they live in the house and the woodwork and all that. So that I understand. I get that part. But they initially saved his daughter, didn't they? Yes. That's why he's doing that. But what I don't get, and as I said, you might be able to explain it, is surely they would have just consumed her at the very beginning. I don't quite get why they would have kept her alive. I don't know do you know what I mean? If they need humans to survive, I don't get why they would have all those years ago when they found her. Was she dying? What was supposed to be wrong with her?
Well, she had this illness, didn't she? That wasn't that the doctors could not. They couldn't find what. They just couldn't diagnose what was wrong with her, and they couldn't cure her, and so on. So these little alien dudes, the dryads, with a Y, not an I. They sensed, I think, that she was dying or she had some really bad illness, and they saved her.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. Wouldn't they have just consumed her?
Well, she was the first, wasn't she? She was the first. Well, that's what I'm saying. Because she was so ill, I'm guessing terminally ill. They decided to save her.
Okay.
Because from the sound, my feeling on it was he had found these. They almost look like fossils in the garden. So they've obviously been dormant for a long time. And then when they finally awoke, they were the first thing that they encountered was this person, potentially dying of something. So because their thing, I don't know what to call it, their thing is obviously something to do with wood. They can create it and recreate it and absorb people into it. Their initial instincts, I guess, was to save this person, but the only way they know how is to turn her into wood. Because that's their thing.
I guess it kind of works, I suppose. I just sort of questioned it at the time. What was the reason for them saving her, if you like? But I'll tell you what, though, it made for it. I thought she looked fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
as the wood creature or whatever she didn't. I'm guessing it was prosthetics, however you say that word.
The bulk of it was, yeah.
It was stunning visuals, I thought. I don't know if they'd sort of CGI'd over any of it or if it was all mask and makeup, but she looked incredible, I thought. Really, really nice design and weathered and, really cool.
Yeah, it was the only CG was their eyes. So it was the eyes. It was the same with Pavel, when he's trapped in the wall.
Yeah.
So all of his face and everything was all prosthetics, and his eyes were fine. But in post-production, they turned them into like this slight milky wood color, and the same with her. They turned her eyes into just pure wood effect.
Yeah, I just thought she looked brilliant in the episode. Absolutely amazing. I also like the fact that the doctor's explanation for not sort of twigging that the landlord was her son, not her dad, because I was thinking the same when Bill worked it out about the age. She was so if you're 70, because I was thinking, my first reaction when she said that was, come on, Doctor, you would have figured that out ages ago. And then, but of course he explains, doesn't he? He's like, of course, the human, I forget you humans have such a short lifespan. And, again, it was just a brilliant, nice way of twisting it and saying, yeah, don't forget the Doctor's alien. He wouldn't be necessarily thinking along those lines, because, he often forgets, like he used to say to Clara, how old are you now? 50 or something? He gets muddled, doesn't he, about sort of the human lifespan and his lifespan. So I thought that was a really nice little way of just explaining in terms of the story why he hadn't figured that out, because it seems really obvious when like when he says I'm 70 or whatever, or 70 years on, and Bill gets it straight away. I just sort of thought that was really nice bit of writing.
It was, yeah, really, really nice. And that was one of the things I was going to say. Actually, it was another one of those Who episodes where there were these really nice little scenes dotted throughout. So the opening scene with Bill and the Doctor was really nice, because the theme that Murray Gold has written for Bill.
I love it. Yeah.
It's such a feel-good piece of music.
Oh, it is. Oh, and yes, you've reminded me as well, and talking about theme, the bit where Bill shows her mum the photograph of her room, and she's like, are you proud of me? And what a beautiful little scene. I was like, just loving Bill more and more. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. Those really nice scenes between Bill between Bill and the Doctor were really, really cool. Like the opening scenes around the TARDIS, the little bit where she's sort of trying to palm him off as her granddad, and
that was nice, wasn't it? Yeah,
and we'll come on to that in a second, because there's a lot of fan theories knocking about around this, and there's also the scene where that I mentioned earlier, the progression between her character and the Doctor, where she's, where she says, this is the part of my life where you're not in it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
When I first watched that bit, I thought, this definitely feels a little bit Clara-ish. And I hope that they don't go too far down that road. Because remember when Clara had the whole thing with the Doctor where she was like, I'm going to have my own life, but also this life as well in the TARDIS. So there was that one episode where she was doing all her day job at the school and seeing Danny Pink and, having the adventure in the TARDIS and she was knackered, wasn't she? Yeah. And she said to the Doctor, you're not in my life all the time. I need to have my own. So I'm hoping I'm hoping the Moff doesn't pull us too far down that road that we had with Clara. But it was a nice little scene where, the Doctor just assumes that, yay, she's now a companion. We do everything. If there's an adventure, I assume you're in. And she's like, you can see that she's thinking, well, no, because, you're not in my life all the time. I have my own thing going on.
Yeah.
Which again shows the strength of Bill's character. She's not just caught up in the big whirlwind of, traveling with the Doctor like some other companions. Like Rose was terrible for that. It was like everyone else and, in her world, including her boyfriend and her mum on, many occasions can do one. I'm traveling with the Doctor and that's it. Whereas Bill's a bit more, she shows a stronger side.
Yeah, and because I was wondering at first, I was thinking, why is she being so harsh to the Doctor? And then I had to remind myself what it is like to be young. You don't want, you want to be with your friends and left to it to do your own thing. And I was thinking, that's a very relatable thing. I'm sure a lot of people are out there thinking the same thing. Like, as much as you sort of love your parents or whatever, if you're in that situation, you'd be like, yeah, thanks for helping me move, but going to do my thing now with my friends for a little while. Got to learn by my own mistakes and all that sort of thing. And that's basically what she was saying, wasn't it? It's like, this is my space now. This is my time. What'd she say? This is the part of my life that you're not in or something. It was very, it worked so much better with her than it did with Clara, I think.
Yes.
Because it's just, you can understand the reason why. Because she's a young person. She's got her life to lead, as well as the life she lives with the Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. That was good. And then we had so let's talk about some production-y stuff quickly. So again, really good looking episode. Didn't quite have the sort of big cinematic, vistas that we've seen in the previous episodes, because it was fairly it was mostly dark and, a little bit old schooly, grungy kind of look and feel. But it did still look really, really good. The only one thing I'll say, and for some reason it must be just for cinematic effect, and it happens all the time with horror films that are set in in this country, in the UK, and that is our thunderstorms are very different to the big tropical thunderstorms that you would see in other countries. So anyone that lives in the UK can back me up on this. When we have a thunderstorm, the lightning and the thunder don't have anything to do with each other.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like you'll see lightning, and then it's a case of 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. And then you have like a big sort of thunder roll, maybe like 8 seconds later or something. But they always tend to do it in horror films where you have this massive strike of lightning and the thunder's clapping across the sky instantly, and it's all crazy. So I thought, that's definitely cliche. That's definitely
that is a bit cliche. And in some ways it might have been more atmospheric if you'd have just had this sort of rumbling of thunder and then the odd crack. Yeah, because it'd be more realistic, but it also might have been a bit more atmospheric. But I do know what you mean about that, yeah.
Yes, it was a bit, but apart from that, I mean, it wasn't too bad. It only appears for a few seconds, but I did think, oh, here we go.
Yeah, overall the effects weren't bad though. I mean, like the CGI tower, you could tell it was CGI, but it looked decent enough, and we didn't see it for any particular long period of time, so it kind of worked. I think when the house blew up at the end, they very sort of used the editing to get away with not having too much effect, because if you look at it, you don't really see the house sort of dissolve. It's kind of all done by their expression, if you like. But yeah, overall I thought the effects looked good. I thought the bug creatures looked quite good when they were crawling all over the kitchen. The scene where old what's his name? Is his name Harry? Yeah, Harry. The scene where he got it on the stairs and he sort of dissolved.
Oh yeah.
I thought that looked pretty decent. Overall the production. What?
That was the worst bit for me.
Oh, you didn't think that looked very good?
In terms of CG, when the stair closes around his ankle.
Oh no, that didn't look so good. No, but the bug bit, the sort of in his figure shape, looks good.
Right, yes.
You know what I mean, when it sort of dissolved. But yeah, you're right. I spotted that as well. When you see his leg caught in the step, that didn't look good. But yeah,
I read you.
Yeah, it could have been better, that bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what did you think to the? Let's speak about the monster then, the monster of the week kind of thing that we had in this with the little dryads. The little troglodyte / cockroach / fossil looking things with the cool little blue lights.
Yeah.
For their little antennas. I thought they were, I wasn't too keen on I don't know, they were more served up as a parasite, weren't they? They were more, they weren't sort of these evil little creatures with their own motives for doing stuff. They were essentially controlled, weren't they, by the landlord guy?
Yeah, although it sort of turned out that it was Eliza controlling them, didn't she, in the end? I'm surprised it's taken us 70 years to realise, but yeah. But the design of them was okay. I mean, I think anything like creepy crawly wise is quite scary anyway. I mean, if you were to see that lot coming towards you, I think that's enough to freak you out. But
yes,
yeah, I thought they were designed quite well. It was quite nice when they were coming out the wall and stuff like that. It was quite good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the sound effects were really good. That horrible sort of scratching sound,
scuttling,
hearing thousands of little tiny creatures scuttling around. I thought that was well done, and they definitely had a creepy atmosphere. And I like the way that they introduced just one of them first. So it's quite funny where the doctor and what's his name, Harry. Yeah, when they're walking around the kitchen and he's sort of tapping cupboard doors and stuff like that, and then one of them just pops out.
Yeah.
And initially you think it's quite cute.
The doctor loves it, doesn't he? He's like, hello.
Yeah. So I like that they introduce it now. You just didn't see a big swarm of, like the plague of locusts effect. It was just, it's good.
I love it when the doctor, do you know that scene when the doctor is in the sort of front room with all of them, and then he slams his hand against the wall and he just stares at, I don't know what the character was called, that girl. He just stares at her for ages, and Bill's like, Doctor, you're being a bit weird now. Because do you know what I mean? It's just, do you know the bit I mean? He just like sort of pulls this pose and is just glaring at her. I think he's actually trying to sort of thinking in his head, but he doesn't realise that he's actually just like freaking her out.
Yeah.
It's almost very Tom Baker-ish, that. I just thought, nice little moment, nice little doctor-ish moment, if you like.
So that was one of the scenes where he's trying to be down with the with
Down
the
with
kids
the kids.
almost, because
Yeah.
he's almost straight away, because I like the scene about the Chinese food. So he's like, can I smell Chinese food? And he's off, isn't he? And then from that point on, he's having a bit of banter with them and
about the music, and I know who this is, and of course he doesn't.
Yeah. Well, that was a really cool scene though, where he's sort of feeling he's got his hand up on the wood panel on the wall, and he has got that weird expression right
Very
up in her
intense
face,
look.
hasn't he? Yeah, and he's kind of staring at her really weird, and you think, is he going to smile at any second, or is he going to break this awkwardness?
It's as if he's gone into a trance or something, isn't it? It's just, I don't know. It's a weird scene, but a great scene. Just as I said, it's just very doctorish thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And those other scenes that with him and the other. So, another funny little scene where he's saying, "I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna hang around with," and he gets their names wrong, doesn't he? Both of them. Right. Bill has to correct him.
All of them. Yeah.
And that just shows another strength to Capaldi's his performance as the Doctor.
Yeah.
Very cool. So editing, production wise, all great stuff as usual. Series 10 is really looking amazing.
Direction wise, still good, do you think?
Direction wise, I thought it was well suited actually. I think it's interesting, the direction actually, because they could have gone down the road of, as well as having the story aspect be quite classic horror movie cliche stuff, they could have also gone down the direction route of cliched stuff with more shots of the old haunted house with the lightning and strange camera angles and all cleverness with that, but they kept it fairly straight, I thought.
I thought the direction was decent.
No
perhaps
complaints,
not
though.
quite as good as no complaints at all. I guess I thought I can't remember the director's name who did the first two. I mean, I thought the direction in the pilot with the jumpy scenes was amazing. So I don't know, it would have been, I don't know, I think they could have been perhaps a little bit more like that, but I no complaints to the direction by Bill Anderson, the director. Thought he did a good job.
Yes. And I think there was, I think it did a great job actually between the story elements and the production and the direction, because for the most part, certainly for the first sort of half of the story, or the first 2/3 of it, it was this great, creepy, sinister, intense kind of great story for me. And I thought that it was played really well. So, because initially, I think, myself and probably a lot of other people included, you initially thought it was a classic haunted house ghost story. It almost was set up to be that way. So the creaking floorboards, you wouldn't expect, a little lice, or a few lice characters to be treading down on creaky floorboards. That sounded quite human to me, and all that stuff, because all the house was quite creaky and stuff. I associated the little lice dryad things more with sort of scratching, scuttling sound. So when you heard like the house creaking and the floorboards being pressed down and stuff, I initially thought, we're in for a really good ghost story, poltergeist sort of thing. So, and that created a real tense vibe for me. I love it. I love it when Doctor Who does that scary, tense kind of atmosphere.
See, I'm wondering if the landlord was, perhaps some of the creaking floorboards was the landlord.
Yeah, maybe
Walking around outside with his little tuning fork, driving them towards him or something. I don't know. I noticed you've said before now that the Moff doesn't tend to reference much RTD stuff. He seems to be thrown in a couple of bits this time. We got Harriet Jones was mentioned when he was talking about the prime ministers. So I was like, okay, that's a nice little callback. Because he was asking the landlord if he knew who the prime minister was, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's nice to get a mention of Harriet Jones there, I thought.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's when he's quizzing him about, because he immediately locks onto him as a mysterious character, doesn't he?
Something not right, yeah.
Yeah. So what he says, was it Margaret Thatcher, Harriet Jones? Does he say Margaret Thatcher? I think so.
Thatcher, yeah. He says, I can't remember who else he says, but I like the fact it was thrown in there.
Yeah, really clever little nuggets.
Yeah.
And there was another thing as well. Oh yeah, we had the throwback to the classic Who, didn't we, a couple of times? So when Bill's quizzing him on the Time Lords, she said, like, do you wear like something? And he's like, no, big collars.
Big collars.
Yeah. Which we didn't see until Baker's era, did we? Time Lords wearing all the really big.
I think
stuff.
you might see a bit in the Three Doctors, if I recall. I can't remember now. I haven't watched that for a
I
while.
thought it was a Deadly Assassin when we first.
Oh, there's definitely a lot
the,
of that going in Deadly Assassin. Yeah.
And we also had So again, the throwback. So there was. Let's talk about some fan theories quickly, because there was this whole thing around Harry was meant to be the grandson of Harry Sullivan.
Yes, apparently in the early script they were going to do that, and they cut it, didn't they?
What do you reckon to that? Why do you think they cut that out?
I don't know, because when I first heard it, I quite liked that, because I just liked the fact that Harry Sullivan was getting a mention in the show, because I love Harry Sullivan as a character. I don't know. Why do you reckon they cut it? Because I part of me feels sad that they did. Part of me thinks perhaps it was good that they did. I don't know. I just must be a reason for why they decided not to.
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. It will probably come out in something. We'll get some insight into that.
Would you have liked it if they'd have left it in? A part of me thinks I would. Part of me thinks it would have been lovely to have had that as a little reference in there. Just sort of a bit like the Harriet Jones thing, just sort of said, just sort of put in there, no big deal, just a little sort of reference, I think would have been quite nice, actually. Yeah.
Maybe it was because of the other comment that was made. So he said that his granddad and his boyfriend were off on an adventure, and they stole a bit of the Great Wall of China, didn't they?
That's right.
So it might have something to do with that. Maybe
they just didn't want to add to the sort of background. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, actually. Could be that.
That's the only thing I can think of why they would drop it. But yeah, I agree with you. It would have been a nice little throwback to Harry Sullivan.
So what do you reckon about the grandfather thing then? Do you think there's more to that, or is it just a bit of teasing going on in the writing?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Because my theory about Susan. I'm convinced she's coming back.
Yeah, I read you. It's... So many people have said that as well. It's something to do with Susan. A lot of people have said it's Susan in the vault and...
playing the piano?
Playing the piano, yeah. And this whole Bill referencing him as grandfather and so on is another little sort of cog in a bigger wheel, if you like, as some kind of big reveal at the end of the series. But I don't know. I think to me, I think it's isolated in the story. I don't think it's linked to anything more than Bill just trying to palm him off as, nutty old granddad.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah,
it's quite funny though how he's like, I don't look old enough to be, I'm what was it he says? I'm too old to be your dad, or I don't look old enough to be.
I look too old to be. She's like carrying that box or something. Yeah. My builder that I was talking to the other day spotted all the Daleks in the house, and he was saying, "Oh, I'm a big Doctor Who fan." He was telling me all his theories for the show, and he was like, "I reckon that new companion, she's going to be Susan. She is. It's going to get." And I was thinking, no, I can't see that happening. But I could see where he was going with it. I think they're almost trying to hint that, because he was saying like, "Well, don't forget in the first episode, the Doctor, chose her, and we don't know why. Why did he pick her?" And then he looks at that picture, and I was thinking, I can see what I can see how your mind's working here, but I'd be very surprised if Bill turned out to be Susan. But I do think there is something there, I think. But I like you, I think it's just little references to sort of perhaps throw us off the scent or push us in the wrong direction, maybe. I don't know.
I'd agree. I think that's a wonderful thing about fan theories and stuff. Some of them gain momentum, and then before you know it, the internet's like, Bill, it's Susan. That's it.
It's going to regenerate at the end, back into Susan, and that would be a bit weird.
So, I do think that there's nothing to do with Susan at all in this entire thing. Maybe it's just, some ideas that have been bandied around and have picked up some traction, and that's it. All of a sudden it's gospel. But I don't know. I think that the reference to the Doctor being Bill's grandfather and so on, I think it's just isolated to this story.
Yeah.
We could be terribly wrong. I think at the end of series 10, Susan walks out the vault and all that. I don't know, but
I think I'm just desperate for Susan to make an appearance. I have been since the show come back, actually. But it's going to be interesting, because if they're going to keep the Eighth Doctor Big Finish stuff canon without saying too much. They've got to be a bit careful how they bring her back in terms of her relationship with the Doctor and how it ended on the Big Finish stuff. So, or the last time we met them together. I don't know. I just would love to see Susan come back. Yeah. I don't think she's in the vault though. To be honest, I don't know.
I don't think so. No. So, what do you think about that scene at the end then, where Nardol's fiddling around with the stuff on the vault
That's
doors?
That's so funny. I love all that.
And the Doctor's turned up with some Chinese food or whatever, and he dismisses Nardole quite firmly, doesn't he?
Yeah, he wants him out of the way.
Yeah, Nardol's giving him a bit of lip, and he just comes in, "Good night, Nardole." So he's like, "Okay, I better go now." And then I was not expecting him to open the vault and walk in there.
Well, apparently we find out what's in it next week, don't we? I believe.
Well, do we?
I think the Moff said he's like mid-series you find out what's in there. But then again, doesn't necessarily mean we're going to find everything that's in there. Perhaps we've, got a doppelganger in there for halfway through the series or something. I don't know. But I think we do get to go in it next week. Yeah. Okay. Which is why a lot of people were saying it's Missy, because someone was playing the piano, and then there's that picture of Michelle Gomez looking like she sat on top of a piano. Remember the publicity stills? And I'm thinking, okay, so if it's Missy, and she is in next week's episode, isn't she?
I think so. Yeah.
So
it makes sense.
It's all pointing towards Missy. I'm just hoping that's not it, because there's been quite a good build up to the vault, and if it turns out just to be Missy, that's going to be really disappointing. It's going to be a real, like, is that it? Do you know what I mean? There's got to be more to it, surely. It can't just be Missy.
Yeah, that would be a bit of a sort of mid-series anti-climax if it was. If he walks, if we go inside the vault and there's just Missy sat there, that wouldn't be like.
I do have another kooky theory, but I don't know if I should say.
Come on.
Well, it's just I was chatting to our good friend Adam, the Ultimate Whovian, the other day, and his face kind of dropped when I said it. So that's why I'm hesitating, because what I'm about to say I think is common knowledge, but maybe it's not, because Ad didn't know about it. And I was like, I hope I haven't just ruined something. This is very unlikely anyway, so I will say it. But my other kooky theory, which probably is totally wrong, is that maybe Missy's in there, but she's also with Davros. Now, hear me out. It's because when we last saw Missy, she was trapped with the Daleks, wasn't she?
Yes.
And the BBC, when they announced the Series 1 Blu-ray that's coming out of this series, are giving away free postcards. And one of those postcards has got a picture of Davros. And I was thinking, it's like an art card. It's not a photograph. It's just like an art picture. So I was thinking, well, what are they putting a picture of Davros in the Series 1A or whatever it is box set?
Right. So
I don't know. It's a very loose theory. Don't get me wrong. But I was kind of thinking, could she be in there with Davros? At least it'd be quite interesting. There has to be someone else in there. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be someone else. It can't just be Missy. Even if it's John Sim, it's got to be something else in there. But I'm also hoping they've managed to keep at least something secret from us, because I was saying to Ad, we know an awful lot about this series already. And me and you have talked about it. We've had an awful lot of spoilers. I'm just really hoping they've managed to keep some surprises in there for us, because it seems like a lot's been given away. So we need something. We need something in that vault that's going to really make us go, that's what I'm hoping anyway.
I'm not sure what to feel about that, about Davros being in there. I mean, it kind of makes sense, what you're saying.
It's very loose theory, and it's only because other people said it. They're like, well, why is there a postcard of Davros in there? And it's probably no reason at all. It's probably just because I think there are other things in there as well. Don't get me wrong. I think there's postcards of like a Shielder possibly, or something like that. So it's probably just that they picked a load of random art pictures and thought they make for a nice set of free cards. Yeah. So don't read too much into it, but it was just a theory I had.
Yeah. I mean, also, I think it was it the pilot or Smile, where Nardol's at the vault. It was at the end of the episode. Must have been Smile then. And whatever is inside, or whoever is inside the vault, was really smashing on the doors from the inside.
That's true.
So I thought that, is it like a big beastie? Is it some kind of big monster that they're keeping contained, or a robot or something? Because it seemed very sort of unpredictable at the moment, because we have that scene where whatever's inside is really smashing the inside of the vault doors really loudly. And then we go to this episode where they're playing a piano.
Yeah,
and
that seemed to fit in with Mrs. character, because he was like, he's like, I've got another story for you. Silence. He's like, lots of children get eaten, and then she starts playing away happy music. I thought, well, that's the sort of thing Missy would do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would love the fact that some kids have been killed, so that's typical Missy. Then again, what if he opens that door and there's a big chasm, and it's got all the masters. Regenerations floating around it, like the Crispy Master, the John Sim Master, Missy. What if they're all in there trapped?
Yeah.
But one of them manages to get out. There could be anything in there. What do you reckon's in there?
The logical part of my brain says Missy.
Yeah,
that's what the evidence supports that we've seen so far. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a bit of a curveball. I think there's going to be something there that we're not expecting. Put it that way.
Yeah, I hope so, mate.
Yeah. Okay, so let's rattle through some characters very quickly.
Yeah.
So the supporting cast, then the young dudes that a few of them get popped off. A nice bunch of peeps, I would say. I really enjoyed the humour part of it. They were, especially when they're sat around the table just having a laugh, and they're going up to bed, and the tall guy, was it Paul? Was it Paul?
Paul, yeah,
he sort of pretends to get sort of dragged into his room, and then
I thought that was nice actually, because when he does actually get done for, you kind of think they think he's just messing around. I thought that's cool.
Yeah, that was cool, and he has a little, Bill sort of brings him down to earth quite quickly, which is quite funny. And then we have who was it? Was it Felicity, who was the young girl that really freaked out when everything was kicking off and she couldn't be trapped and she dived out the window? Yeah, so I thought she was... there's always a scared one, isn't there? When you have a group of young characters, there's always one that's overly scared and petrified. I thought she did that pretty well.
Yeah.
We had Pavel, your favourite, with the accent.
Just the accent, yeah.
Not too bad. I thought he was... You could tell he was going to get popped off first. He was too cocky, when he's outside and he can hear the floorboards creaking, and he just sort of grins and goes back in his room. He's like, "Yeah, I'm all good." And so he gets popped off. We could see that coming.
Yeah.
What about Harry then? What about Harry?
I quite liked Harry actually.
Doctor, what are you doing? What are you doing?
No, I thought he was all right. I thought, I felt a bit sad when he got it. I was like, oh dear, poor old Harry. I have to say, I thought, like all the supporting cast you've mentioned up to now were decent. They did their job. We got their characters pretty quick, even though we didn't get to see, like you said, any major backstory for them. They were just, we just got to know them pretty quickly. So I think all the people you mentioned were quite decent. Harry stood out, I suppose, because he got a bit more to do. Like he was with the Doctor for a bit longer. I quite liked him really. I thought he worked quite well with Capaldi. I quite liked Harry. And in my head, I'm going to think that he was Harry Sullivan's. Was it grandson? What was it? He was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So but no, I thought he was cool. Did you like him?
I thought he was quite good actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a couple of times where he was edging over towards the annoying side of things.
Slightly at the beginning, I thought he got better as the episode went on, actually, because I thought he was going to be a bit annoying to begin with. Yeah.
But no, overall he was pretty good actually.
He's all right.
Yeah. And Shireen, who was obviously Bill's buddy, if you like.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that she's been in. I think she was one of the twins in the Harry Potter movies.
I've seen her in something. I've definitely recognised her. Yeah.
Or was she not? No, she wasn't.
No. I've seen her in something.
What has she been in? Oh, the David Brent movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the David Brent movie. She was the receptionist. Yeah. But no, she was. I thought she was really good.
Yeah, I thought she was okay. She was a bit like Harry. I thought at the beginning she was a bit whiny and annoying, but I quite liked her towards the end. If you know what I mean. I thought she got better as the episode went on. Yeah.
And then Eliza, then the wood.
The bedridden
wood lady.
Do you know, I really liked. This goes so strange because we don't really get to see her much. because she's mostly under all the get up as the wooden Eliza. But when we get to see her as the human Eliza, she's a very unusual looking woman, would you say? And all the better for it, because I just don't know. She's visually, her face is very striking. And I just thought, she's great casting, because she's just, I don't know, there's something very unusual about her. And to have her transform into this wooden, strange looking thing as well. I just thought it fitted perfectly, if you know what I mean. So, although, did she actually get any lines? Well, she got a few as the wooden creature, didn't she? But
yeah, she does have quite a few towards the end where she's quite distraught and upset at, it turns out to be her son. So that was before we get on to our scores then, just a couple of things. What do you think to that twist at the end where, and we didn't know obviously about the Eliza for the most part, but when we do find out about her, the doctor's piecing together the history of why she's there and so on. And he's like, my daughter, X, Y, Z. And he mentions her daughter throughout the whole episode, really.
Yeah.
What did you think to that sort of twist where Bill sort of clicks and she's like, that doesn't make sense. And the doctor's really impressed with her. He's like, no flies on you. And then we get the little twist. I thought they could have made slightly more of that.
Yeah, it didn't make my jaw drop on a first watch. I was kind of like, what's that about? As I said, I was more interested in the fact that, the reason why the doctor didn't work it out quicker and stuff. But yeah, I guess maybe they felt like they needed a twist at the end. It didn't 100% work for me. I don't know. It was okay. The second time I watched it, I was kind of like, I get it, because it's all about the fact that he's taken over the sort of domineering role of being the dad. So I guess in that sense it works. But I don't know. It fell a little bit flat, that twist, the first time I watched it, to be honest with you. I just didn't think, I just sort of went, oh, it wasn't like, really? Okay. I was just a bit like, all right. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think it quite had the impact that was intended. If I'm honest. Were you the same?
Yeah, that's what I thought they could have made a bit more of it, or just not include it at all, really. But it was okay.
I did get it. Yeah.
I think they were going for like a Sixth Sense kind of awesome twist at the end there. But yeah, it was all right.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's talk about David Suchet then, the landlord.
Well, I was going to say, actually, if anything, he made that twist more powerful than it actually was, because when he starts sort of almost regressing back into the being childlike when she's hugging him, he's like, I don't want to, and he's sort of almost turning back to the kid. Yeah. So that although the twist wasn't that sort of amazing, I think he really sort of brought it to life and did more with it, because he sort of, he was absolutely superb in the episode, wasn't he? I think we're both on an agreement there. He was so good in it, switching from like, gentle old landlord to really quite vicious landlord to quite, to upset child, being cradled in her arms and stuff. So fantastic. And I think the only thing I would say is I'm slightly disappointed what his character turned out to be, because it probably means we won't see him again. And I think he was so good in it. I would love to have seen him sort of return, but that's very unlikely now, given who he turned out to be. Maybe that's what I meant at the start of the review when I felt slightly disappointed with the ending, is because I suppose I wanted him to turn out to be something more, so that perhaps we would see him again, and he'd come back to fight the Doctor again in another story. But it wasn't that. That wasn't the story that's being told here. So maybe that's why I felt a little bit slightly let down on a first watch. But he was excellent. I would love to see him come back, but I just don't think it won't happen, will it? Because of where the story went.
Yeah,
I don't think.
I mean, he was consumed, wasn't he, by the Dryads along with Eliza. So doubtful that we'll see him again. But his performance, though, David Suchet, was so good.
I thought so.
When we first saw him and he played that immediately creepy old guy, which he was, very intentional. He wanted to play that, because he has like a little grin on his face sometimes, and he's very sort of trying to appear normal, but he's just got that creepy vibe about him. He's not overly creepy. It's not like theatre, pantomime sort of creepy. He's just got that sort of uneasiness about his character. And then it sort of slowly builds up, and then we see him, that scene where he walks into the bedroom where Bill and Shireen have found Pavel in the wall, and he's there. He just appears sort of behind him, and he's acting as if it's just completely normal practice for this to be happening. You know, they're obviously freaked out and scared, and he's just wandering around with his tuning fork, and he's like, you know, this is what happens in this house, sort of thing. It is very creepy, and his performance at the end as well, like you said, where he almost regresses into that childlike state, you know, around his mum, it turns out. It's just really cool, really great stuff.
It was. I was sad to see him go. I was like, oh no, you know. And the whole thing with the tuning fork as well was a lovely touch because it just added another element to his very creepy character. But yeah, it was really great to have him in it. Absolutely brilliant casting, great performance. Yeah, he really brings the episode up as well. Just having him in it just really enhances this story, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. So very quickly, Nardole again, hardly any.
Only in the end, end. Still a nice little scene with him and the Doctor, but yeah, hardly in it. Really
playing that nice little sort of relationship with the Doctor, where he's just, I'm still fascinated by how this relationship has ended up in this state, because he's just not bothered at all, is he, by the Doctor?
He's not, no. So there's a bit of attitude, isn't there?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, he's almost a bit like, all right, yeah, what have you been up to now? Oh, yeah. That kind of thing. So, yeah, Nardole, Matt Lucas, good.
I think next week's going to be the tester for him, because I've loved Nardole in this so far, in this series, but we haven't got much of him. But next week he's in it proper, and he's obviously, so next week could be the one to see, you know, how we get on with him. But I've liked him in it so far. Yeah.
Bill then.
Bill, nice episode for her, I thought.
Yep. I thought it was a nice episode for her to not have to go nuts like she has done. So what I mean is there wasn't a huge amount of range with her in this one. So she was very likable still, very, relatable as well, you know, especially in the first half where she's just essentially just mucking around with her new housemates and so on. And then she just played scary. She played scared quite well. And then that was it, really. So if we think about the last few episodes before, we've had like really surprised. We've had all the questions. We've had quite upset and angry in Thin Ice. Yeah. In this one, she didn't really have to go to those sort of places, really. She just played it quite. I'd imagine for her filming wise, it was quite a relatively easy, not easy, but you know, a straightforward performance needed.
Yeah, and it was nice that we got to see that other side, like you said. You know, we've sort of seen her and the Doctor. Relationship grow together, but in this one we saw that other side of her life, like you said earlier, where she has got another life on Earth, and as much as she loves the Doctor, and that this is her time, so that again added another side to her character, I thought, which was good.
Yeah, no complaints there. And Capaldi,
very good, very good. Yeah,
awesome as usual. Really cool pieces of humor injected in there. That really cool Doctor sort of interactions with people where he's not scared at all. He's more interested and intrigued. And like, so that scene in the kitchen where Harry is really petrified and he's confused as to why the Doctor isn't scared. And the Doctor just sort of nonchalant, he's like, well, don't be scared. He's like, why not? He's like, it doesn't help. You know, he's in his sort of
what's the point? Yeah,
he's in sort of investigatory mode. So yeah, all these interactions with the younger cast, really cool. Really nice and funny. And then at the end where he's playing detective and he's piecing together all the stuff, just really cool. And then that final scene with the vault, just so interesting and so, I don't know, just great writing on this in this series. Really good.
Yeah, he's definitely become the Doctor I wanted to see. You know, when we've talked about Capaldi's Doctor before this series started and what we wanted to see and hoped to see from him, but he's definitely become the Doctor that I wanted to see on screen. Yeah. So really good.
Very cool. Right. Let's rattle on with our, actually, before we get on to reviews, the binaural edition.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Yeah.
That came out on iPlayer. So I obviously jumped on there after watching the episode. And for those of you that didn't catch our little talk on it last week, the BBC have put out this special audio mix called a binaural edition, where the sound mix has been done specifically for people listening with headphones. So it's got this real nice 3D space where the sound effects they've got height to them as well as depth, and the sound stage is quite open, and it's meant to immerse you a bit more. I thought it was pretty good, actually. I did watch a few scenes of the normal version versus the binaural version, and there's definitely quite a big difference there in the way the mix has been put forward. And I hope they do more of them. I hope they do the rest of the series in those, because it does, especially an episode like this, because there are a few times where you heard the landlord's voice sort of right behind you, across like the right side of you, and like some of the creaking floorboards and stuff, they appear sort of real far off to the left, and like the little scratching sounds, they appear sort of almost like the top of near the top of your head, and so on. So it was a real sort of, I wouldn't say it wouldn't blow you away. It's not like, you feel like you're in a sort of a 360 environment, but it does enhance the audio quite a lot. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was the perfect episode to do it with, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm a bit like you. I thought it was a really nice idea, and at first I was thinking, okay, I can't really tell the difference. But the best, if you just literally sit in a dark room with your headphones on, it works brilliantly. Like you said, and it's little things like that. Like you said, like you could sort of feel like people, like when they're at the door and all their friends are behind you, the sort of sounds, the way they've mixed it, it feels like you're at the front and they're behind you and stuff like that. So it was very interesting. The only thing, I suppose the music, because it's still mixed with the music on top, that kind of, I don't know, seemed to jar with the mix to me a little bit. I don't know if you felt like that, because it does feel like you're in the room once you've sort of got about 5-10 minutes in the episode. You're getting your head around the way the sounds are mixed. So then when the music comes in, just sometimes it would slightly take me out. I was almost thinking would have been quite interesting to have had just real minimal, take the music off and just have it as if you are actually in that scene. So that's the only thing I would say. But it was really nice to have a variation on the episode to watch. Like you said, just to make it a bit different. So yeah, it's good. I hope they do more of them. It would be really cool if they did. Yeah,
and it was a good job that Murray Gold's music was quite atmospheric and not big booming themes in this one as well. So
definitely, yeah.
Anything else, mate, before our scores?
No, I mean, the only thing I will say, and this will affect my score, is that the one thing that really bugged me about the episode was that everybody lived. As soon as she brought the guys back to life, I was like, oh dear. I just didn't think they needed to do that, and it turned a very dark episode. It just took the edge off slightly for me. It just annoyed me. Basically, I was thinking, no, we don't need to do. We've done that to death. Oh, it's okay. Everybody lives. No, she shouldn't have done that. It didn't make sense to me either. So that's the only thing that will affect my score, because it annoyed me. I was thinking, no, they. As much as I liked old Harry, they should have remained dead, because it made it sort of too much of a feel-good ending to what was quite a dark episode. So, yeah. So that brings us on to the scores, basically. That will affect my score.
Righto. I think it's me to go first, and I think it is going in with an 8.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought you would. So am I.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to take some scores off for the Everybody Lives thing.
No, I am.
Right.
Think as I said, I think it was very, very, very good episode. I really enjoyed it. I did probably might have gone a bit higher, but because the Everything Lived thing annoyed me. But no, it was great. I mean, just David Suchet brings the episode back up for me. So it was great, mate. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very strong episode. So cool. Yeah, I'm with you. It's an 8.
8, right. Let's see what our beautiful listeners thought. We had quite a few audio clips in, so we're going to do 2 at a time. So this is going to be Owen Daly and Loopy Lou.
Hello, Gary and Adam. Hope you're both well and enjoying the show this week. So, Knock Knock, episode 4, series 10 by Mike Bartlett. I really, really enjoyed this, and I think the main reason for this is David Suchet. What an actor. I think he is phenomenal. Best thing about series 10 so far, he was giving such a believable performance, and he's just a superb actor. And I would really, really, really love him to be the 13th Doctor. Won't happen, but I think it would be phenomenal if he was the 13th Doctor. His performance was beautiful, and especially at the end, sometimes I find it hard to believe old people crying, but he just sold it to me, and I thought it was beautiful. Really, really well acted. I thought the side cast in this episode were really great. All of them were believable, especially Harry, the teenager the Doctor sided with. And I'm really sad that they cut the scene where they explained that he's actually Harry O'Sullivan's grandson, because I think that would have been a really nice nod to the classic era. But I think he should have joined the Doctor and Bill at the end of this episode, because I thought he had a really great bond with Peter Capaldi, and it was fantastic. Finally, the enhanced audio, I watched that version because I missed it going out live, and about halfway through I went, hey, this doesn't sound any different. And then I realised that I was such a dope and I didn't even click on the enhanced audio version. So yeah, I watched the other half with the enhanced audio, and it sounded brilliant, and it's something I think they should do more often in Doctor Who. So overall, Knock Knock, superb, great episode. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think this could be my favourite of Series 10 so far. Thanks for listening and enjoy the rest of the show.
A brilliant modern Gothic tale. David Suchet made this episode. He was incredible, as always. His character showed so many layers in such a short time. He was just amazing. Fun fact, Mariah Gale, who played Eliza, she played Ophelia to David Tennant's Hamlet, which we saw. Another incredible actor in this episode. So that was great to see. Yeah, a great Whovian twist on the traditional haunted house type horror. My favourite episode so far this series, without a doubt. 10 out of 10.
Nice one.
Wow.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
A 10 out of 10 already.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
Wow. Over on Twitter then. Ultimate Pike fan says it was fantastic. David Suchet was incredible. Series 10 is still going strong. Mr. Dalek Emperor says a well-written horror story, but the teens being returned at the end was a bit of a cop-out, as they weren't eaten by the bugs.
Yes.
He also notes on the interesting moment in the episode where Bill asked the Doctor about regeneration and so on. Sarah Louise Baggett says 4 out of 4.
Oh, 4 out of 4, okay.
As in series 4.
Yes,
David Suchet's portrayal of the Landlord was perfect. Sinister early on, with so emotional at the end. Loving the P&P dynamic. Peter and Pearl.
Yes.
Ollie Tanner says, awesome. Suchet was phenomenal. I like the support cast. My only issue was how they all come back to life at the end.
Yeah.
9.5. Before we go on to Facebook, more audio clips. We're going to do Joe Sweeney and the Theta Sigma podcast.
Oh.
Hello, Gary and Adam. Hope you guys are well. Knock Knock, I would say, is quite a half-decent story. I liked how it was very dark and there's plenty of scary moments. And I enjoy watching Peter Capaldi. I thought he was brilliant in this episode. And in this series overall and in this story, it really follows his Doctor a lot. Bill, she was good, but for the first 10 minutes, she slightly annoyed me when she was trying to get rid of the Doctor when all he was doing was just investigating. And the young guest stars, they were okay, but they were forgettable. But the one who stole the show was David Suchet. I really liked how his character was quite dark and a little bit sinister, but you can understand why he did all those things to keep his mother alive. I thought that was really well done. But the monsters I found were a bit meh. So overall, a good story. So I'll give it a score of a 7. A 7 out of no. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. Hope you enjoy the podcast, guys. See you soon. Take care. Bye bye for now.
The pre-credit sequence to this week's show is spot on. A speedy introduction to the other 5 stereotypical students who will be house sharing with Bill, a creaky old house for them to share along with a creepy landlord, and an unseen and unexplained death all before the credits roll. Yes, this is horror by numbers, but that doesn't matter, as there's just enough interest to keep the viewer watching. Fully in the knowledge, of course, that some of the red shirt students are going to die, although we don't know how or when. But that's the very thing that does keep us watching, and indeed it's the hidden death of the first student that finally hooks the viewer into the episode. I also love that Bill is now confident enough to ask the Doctor to help her move, but as we're to see later, she's completely embarrassed by him when around her new friends. Loving too that it's the Doctor that introduced Bill to regeneration, or at least starts to, during their conversation about his being a Time Lord. Does the Doctor know something we don't? Well, I mean, we do, but we didn't know that the Doctor knew, if you get my meaning. We also have another reminder of Bill's sexuality, with Paul's unsuccessful attempt to seduce her being more humorous than tacky for the viewer. Now, I'm sure there'll be those out there who would object to this scene, but I can't think why. It's well written and brilliantly acted. And speaking of brilliantly acted, David Suchet is amazing in this story. I've got to say that I've not felt like this about a guest star since the days of Sir Derek Jacobi's Professor Yana. The Landlord is oil-slick smooth as well as outstandingly creepy at the same time, and that's a testament to Suchet's acting ability. Then we have Capaldi at his very best in that closing scene. Bringing a Mexican dinner to the vault room, we have our humour, and then opening the vault doors we have that look of near horror on the Doctor's face before we cut to the next time trailer. Is Doctor Who getting back to where it should be?
Maybe.
Yes, I think it is.
Maybe it is. I would say it is. Right, let's rattle through Facebook then. George Coppen, very well written story and very creepy. David was by far the best thing about the episode. I feel sorry for him. And you know you have a good actor when they can do being creeped out. 8 out of 10. Greg Toby, the creepiest episode of Who since Blink. Thoroughly enjoyed this one. Well acted, well scripted. All in all, another great episode so far in this amazing series. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. 8 out of 10. Miles McKenzie, great story, very creepy, and great acting from Pearl and Peter once again. David Suchet was amazing as the landlord, and as was Bill's housemates. They were great too. Only thing I'd change is the ending, and only let one or two of Bill's housemates live. It kind of ruined the general creepiness. He says the 3D sound was amazing. 8 out of 10. Rob Kernick, I waited till the enhanced version was released of the episode and it was certainly worth it. This is fantastic, really incredible, the best yet, atmospheric, great characters and story, and they're all amazing. The ending was once again super quick and didn't want to explain much, which is what reduced its score slightly. 9 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Neil Monday, a great story, the wonderful cast. Suchet was sublime as the landlord. Capaldi really shined being Bill's granddad. Could have been a little bit more scary though, 7.5.
Okay.
Joseph Howarth, probably the best I've seen of Series 10 so far. Honestly reminds me of Ghostlight or a Philip Hinchcliffe story.
Yeah.
And the Tom Baker's era because it's very creepy and atmospheric, and it had me on the edge of my seat, especially when one of the kids is revealed to be nothing but a wooden slab on part of the wall. He gives it a 9 out of 10. Sammy Satine, good episode. Why did everyone have to live though? Bloody Moffat. They ruined the story for me, and Series 10 was doing well with the death being the final thing. 7 out of 10 from Sammy.
Yeah, I agree, Sammy.
Jake Birtwhistle says 4 good episodes in a row. What is Doctor Who coming to? I really liked it, and it was extremely creepy, very tense. The only thing that let it down was the fact the Doctor felt a bit too Series 9-ish for me. But overall, great episode, 8.5. Jason Thayer, great story. This was the best season. This has been the best season in a while. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Kevin Mullin, a masterpiece, and another 10 out of 10.
Ooh.
Connor McHale, I thought this was an okay episode, but not one that I will want to watch over and over again. I found the enhanced version a bit disappointing. I think it was because Big Finish used the same kind of audio, so I was just used to their audio style. 6 out of 10.
Fair enough.
Finally, on Facebook, Lewis Palmer, enjoyed it a lot. Took a few viewings, but it's a really well-written story. I didn't like all but 2 of the supporting characters, but on repeat viewings, that didn't bother me too much. Suchet was excellent. Really enjoyed the atmosphere. Eliza was a good character. The binaural version was well worth a listen. Added a lot more to the episode. Overall, great story. 7 out of 10. And let's do our final couple of audio clips. This is going to be Ollie Cowley and Jay Kent.
Hello, Gary and Adam. I hope you're well. So Knock Knock, after 3 hours, a total of 3 hours on screen, I'm already taking for granted what a great actress Palmaki is. I think Knock Knock is definitely my favourite of episode of Series 10 and probably of the Capaldi era as a whole. I really liked it. I thought Bill and her mates were great characters, and after one episode of them, I cared about them more than any of the characters in class. Harry in particular, I think it was called Harry, the one that was with the Doctor. I thought he was particularly great, and I would like to see him return later on in the series. It was very well directed. I really like how it built up the fear of the episode. And what I really like is how the scariness of Doctor Who is back. I thought those moments with the cockroaches in particular, I was particularly scared by that. It was a brilliant twist. I really understood the characters' motives at the end there, and with I think probably one of the best guest performances of Doctor Who of all time with David Suchet. A lot of people didn't like the ending of all the characters coming back to life. I mean, there are children watching, I suppose. Overall, a 9 out of 10. I really, really loved it. Bye-bye.
Knock, knock. Who's there? It's me, Jay, and how are you, Gary and Adam? Now, Knock Knock was, I found, a terrific scare episode that did precisely what it needed to. The imagery it used of people being stuck between the walls and lice crawling out of people's mouths and into their ears was plenty enough to make me audibly just go bleh. I'll give it its credit, it's been the first episode since Silence in the Library to make me uneasy and actually give me trouble sleeping with the imagery it used, and what makes it even better was the fact that the villain didn't need to be spookier than he already was, because the visuals delivered plenty enough already. Talking of, I am so thankful David Suchet wasn't wasted in this role like guest stars are known for in Doctor Who, but his role as the Landlord was fulfilling and brilliant. The character itself was wonderfully developed and his motives were believable. One thing I will say, the ending was rushed with quite a few ends to tug on which could make the episode fall apart. What exactly was Eliza's reason for killing the Landlord again? Why didn't she remember that he was her son? When the house collapsed and pointlessly regurgitated Bill's flatmates, why didn't the victims from previous times come out too? And most importantly, why couldn't you hear the fireworks before the curtains were opened? Were we supposed to believe that these are some sort of soundproof fireworks? What a blunder. But these can be overlooked because the tension and atmosphere that the episode built in the run-up to the ending is enough to make it brilliant for me. I'll give Knock Knock an 8 out of 10. Hope you're doing well, lads, and I'll see you next week.
I'm not going to be able to look at that scene with the fireworks the same way. That's a very good point, isn't it?
Soundproof.
Very thick curtains, Jay. That's the answer.
Indeed. So thank you, Owen, Louise, Joe, Theta Sigma, Ollie and Jay Kent. Your reviews are always entertaining, and thank you so much for sending those in. No more comments on Facebook. Did you have anything on the Geek Sandbag? Probably a raft of...
Yes, I had a few on the Geeks. Kat Wheeler said it didn't creep her out at all, but she did enjoy it. Christopher Thompson said, weak conclusion to an otherwise superbly scary story. Dean Jones says it's his favourite episode of the series so far. I thought David Suchet was excellent. Ash White also said it was a fantastic episode, back to the good old days of Who, like the Tom Baker and McCoy era.
Indeed.
Andy Spencer gives it a thumbs up. And basically just overall, I was going to say, looking through, I had quite a few. Thanks for all your comments, guys. Overall, it's just very positive. So there's a couple of people at the start weren't so impressed with the ending, I think was the main issue. And over on Twitter, on the poll, I had 3% said it was poor, 8% said it was average, 31% said it was good, and 58% said it was excellent. So pretty much a thumbs up, I'd say, mate, wouldn't you?
I would say in overall, yes, very positive. Thumbs up. I think we had a load of 9s and 8s, 9s, a few 10 out of 10s as well. So, Series 10, doing the business. Still. Why? Just one last thing. Why do you reckon they changed the title very late in the day? Because it was initially called The Haunted Hub. Oh, yeah. And it was changed to Knock Knock quite late on. And what do you reckon? Yeah.
Haunted Hub. Which do you prefer? Knock Knock or Haunted Hub?
I prefer Knock Knock because, it links into a little bit of a couple of the conversations, when the Doctor's sarcastic, knock knock jibes and stuff. But the Haunted Hub, it doesn't sound right.
No, I agree.
Yes. And I think we're going to do there for 141.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for joining us and sticking with us for another longish show. It's these bloody Series 10 episodes, you see. If they weren't so good, we wouldn't have... it's the Moff's fault. If he wasn't churning out good stuff at the minute, then our shows would be a lot shorter, I'm sure. Sure.
It is true.
Indeedy. Next week, of course, you probably all know that we will be reviewing, Adam.
Taking a deep breath. We are reviewing, of course, the next episode, which is called Oxygen.
Yes. Doctor Who back to outer space. On
Very
spaceships and spacesuits and stuff. So interesting, that one. Wonder how that one's going to pan out. A bit more Nardole action, I think. For that one. But yes, so look out for the Facebook post and Twitter and all that stuff. Get your reviews in. Thank you so much for your reviews so far for Series 10. All been really cool, and your audio stuff really, really cool. We very much appreciate it. Thank you very much to a bunch of people that have sent in iTunes reviews recently as well. We had another a bunch land on there the last week or so. Very kind words. Thank you so much. It really helps us. Thank you. So head over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all the previous episodes on there. Plus it links off to all of the social stuff, so you can give us a follow and a like and all that jazz. And there's also subscribe buttons on there. So depending on how you listen, if you want to listen on the website, that's absolutely fine. But if you're an iTunes listener or you've got some sort of podcast app on your phone or whatever, there's buttons on there. You can link off and do that. And if you are an iTunes listener, a review and a rating would be awesome because it really helps us. Also check out the Geeks Handbag, Adam's channel over on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. Just do a search for the Geeks Handbag. You know the drill. Subscribe.
And send me free stuff.
Follow. Yeah, send him free stuff if you can. Because he's quite lazy, you see. He won't ask you.
No, it's too much to write an email.
Too much on, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Busy man.
There you go. So yes, we'll be back next week for episode 142 with more Doctor Who news and all that jazz and reviewing Oxygen. So until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...